No, you just take your clothes out of the washing machine, then you just bum.
Then you hang
Must
like
hang it
by
just
the end one.
correct.
Hi, my name is Beatrice.
I'm Kiara.
I'm Cheryl.
Hi, I'm Leah, and this is
Zula Chick Chats.
Why I wait too early? Never mind. Can.
Okay, hi guys, welcome to this episode of Zula Chick Chats, and today we'll be talking about moving out from your parents' home. And I have 3 guests here who have all currently moved out of their houses, respective houses. I'm still at home lah, so unfortunately, but they're here to share their experiences on moving out and like their whole journey. So maybe you guys can start by telling us when you decided to move out and also the reasons why.
So I moved out when I was 19, and it wasn't really by choice. I feel like most people, when they have to move out of their parents' home, it's more of a choice thing. Whereas for me, it was because at that point of time, my mom went through a divorce, and she had to obviously like find her own place, move out with my siblings, who were at that time also like teenagers, right? So due to financial constraints, she kind of had to get a place where everyone had their own room, except obviously for me, because at that point of time, I was in uni, I was living in hall. Because of these circumstances, I decided, okay, instead of like sharing a room with my teenage sister, you know, cramping her like life, you know, she's all grown up and stuff. And then when I moved out of hall, I figured out, okay, it's time to like go into the whole rental thing. So that's really how I took steps to like move out of my mom's place.
So like my parents also divorced lah. Then they also divorced quite late when I was like about 17, and then I went to live with my grandparents and my dad. Even though I have my own room, like, you know, it's just a bit like awkward living with your grandparents sometimes, and plus I didn't really have control over like how clean I wanted the house to be and stuff. I lived with them for maybe like 1.5 years, 2 years, and I decided that, you know what, I want my own space, and my friends, they were also looking for a space, so I decided like, why not move out?
So same as you,
Yeah.
I moved out when I was 24. And same as you, because my sister was cramping my stuff.
Wow, okay.
There is me, my sister, and my brother, as well as my long-time helper and my parents. So there's like 6 of us in a 3-bedroom place. Yeah. So me and my sister had to share room, and we are total opposites. So we couldn't deal with each other. We had a plan whereby we take turns having a single bedroom every month. So my sister will take the single bed for 1 month. Or when she's having a single bed, I will be sharing a room with my brother, who snores damn loudly to the point where we both broke down and like cried due to lack of sleep or stress. Yeah, so my dad had an investment property, and I'm a very unfilial and a bad child.
Hey, don't say that.
It's true. I begged my dad. I was like, please, Papa, please let me try moving out for a while for fun, you know. And now I'm still there.
Logically, the first thing that I would think of when it comes to like moving out is like rent, right? It's the most expensive thing. So how did you guys have to deal with like paying rent every month, and like at your age at that point in time, was that something that you were financially capable enough to do lah? Yeah.
I won't answer that because I'm an unfilial child.
And
my
you
dad
don't, like
my dad don't want to take rent from us, and like I just thick skin say okay thanks.
Wow, so nice.
but nice,
Oh,
no, nice
so
though.
sorry.
No, it's fine. Yeah.
For me, I was very fortunate when I moved out of hall. My hall roommate's family had an investment property.
Ask Akia, where is this investment property?
And
I
then
also want-
she basically was like, okay, we have a spare room, you know, why don't you move in with us? We can give you like pretty cheap rent. So that was very, very affordable. It's the now when I am actually renting my own apartment with my partner, where rent is the struggle is damn real. Because like usually when you rent an apartment in Singapore, it's upwards of 1,000,
Yeah.
right, a month. So that's a bit tough to hit. So proper budgeting was really like how I got to carving out a set sum of money every month to be able to make the rent lah.
So for me, I also had a full-time job. I think my rent was like, including like utilities and like Wi-Fi and all that kind of stuff, like it's a third of my salary, third to almost 40%. It was a lot of making like lifestyle adjustments, but not huge one. Maybe don't eat out so much, and then just learn how to cook at home, or like being more strict with impulse purchases. So like the way that you spend really changes from buying anything you want to thinking about, okay, I have to pay rent first, I have to buy my food and transport, then save, and then okay, I can buy whatever I want.
Like my salary, I believe, is never my salary
Correct.
until after I pay my bills and my rent.
Correct.
Then
Oh,
everything
yeah,
else is
yeah.
okay.
Don't be too happy
Yes.
until you pay all
Yeah,
your bills.
yeah, correct.
For me, right, I wouldn't consider moving out because at least my home is a pretty decent place for me to live in now. It's like there's a lot of space for me as well. But for people who are in your situation also, like sometimes I think like the step to take to leave the house and everything for themselves is very hard. Maybe we can first share a bit about, you know, your parents or your family like kind of reaction to when you mentioned that you want to like move out. I mean, we already know that your father is like please, and the father's like okay, cool, and then she just like oh okay.
No, my father was not okay.
Oh, okay, no, really? Oh no, okay. Sorry. I thought your father like okay, cool. What did your dad say?
He was like hee-hawing.
Why is he going?
He was like, like that. Yeah, after much quarrels with my sister, he was like, okay, fine, just for a short while. But my mom was like objecting to it 100%. Because she loves her kids a bit too much and she needs them around her like
she wants
every
you to
day.
be like
Yeah.
But so every Sunday she means when are you coming back, that kind of thing, is it?
Every Sunday. Yeah, my younger brother also, because he feels that we bounce at him.
Oh no!
Yeah. Yeah, because my parents are like quarreling, so there's a lot of tension in the home, and my brother is the only one who is dealing with it.
Right.
Also, he thinks, because me and my sister, we still do our part, like we'll text our parents every day, and like every Sunday I'll check in with my parents like one-to-one, you know, talk to them about life, are they okay? But my brother feel like we should move back and do more. But like there's so many things that I'm giving up if I'm moving back. You all know what I mean, right?
Actually, hopping on to like that point, right? Like family dynamics and managing it when you are not living with your parents. I think that's something that people don't really consider, because when people move out, they always think about them. But like actually, I feel sometimes some relationships are better with like some distance. Like my family is also close. Like my mom, she stays like also about like a 10-minute walk from me, and I go over quite often for dinner with like everyone lah. I think like moving out actually really like improved the relationship.
Yeah.
Because you have your own space.
Correct. And they have their own space.
Correct.
If you're always at home, especially working from home these days,
correct.
right, there can be a lot of friction.
I completely agree, because you know, when all the years that I was living with my family, right, sometimes you are a family unit but you're still individual people at the end of the day, with like individual like living patterns and habits. And the older you grow and the more conscious you are about what you need from a space, if people clash, right, there will be tension no matter what. I'm lucky that, you know, my mom was very supportive. Like I was like, Mom, moving out, then she was just like, okay, go, be free, child. And like I was like, okay lor, yeah. So I didn't have that baggage lah.
My family is like super like chill, I guess, with me moving out. Maybe they're not like okay with it like internally, but they respect like, you know, I'm an adult. So I feel moving out also is great because it allows you to transition into adulthood slowly. Because most people in Singapore, is the first time they move out and first time they live alone, right, is when they get married, own their own home and have a partner.
Yeah.
Like living with a boy is like damn stressful.
Wow.
They always leave the
She can tell us about it.
right? They always leave the toilet seat up. It's damn annoying.
Okay, and the toilet seating not that stress, but yes, living with your partner is very difficult.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, it kind of links to the next question, which
Yes.
is like, what's your experience living with your co-living space people?
So I have lived with friends, and then currently my situation, I'm living with my partner, and it's higher stakes than living with your friends because there's no romantic involvement. It's not like your life plans with the person, right? And then when you live together, it really exposes you to everything. For me at the start, or actually until today lah, there's still pockets of like tension, especially because I live with a person who is very meticulous and very like orderly about cleaning, whereas I do like the minimum to sustain my existence.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people think about like moving out as like, oh my god, it's great. It is great, but they don't think about the unsexy part. For me, I'm the clean one. So I live with my best friend and her boyfriend, so three of us. Why I bring this up, right, is because I just like to hold my feelings in, and I just like burst. I just burst 2 times like, I don't want to clean up after you guys anymore, because it's not fair. Like you say, it's not fair to me, and I definitely should have handled it a lot better lah. It's a lot about compromising and understanding like where each other comes from. But like being a human, you know, things will not be perfect, and like I've made peace with that. How is your cleanliness with your sister?
Yeah.
Well, we quarrel about it all the time.
And my dad.
Yeah. Wait, are you messy or are you clean?
Yeah.
Yes.
I guess you're the
Clean
messy
lah.
one.
What's your answer?
I said clean at first lah.
Clean, messy.
Messy,
I'm
yeah.
the clean one lah.
See, I knew it.
I feel like I need my space to be very aesthetic so that I can like wind down when I'm home. Right not? I treat my home kind of like a hotel. When I'm home, I really need to wind down. Backstory is when we both shared a room, right? She would throw her clothes on the floor, not looking at anyone. Throw her clothes on the floor. Throw her clothes on the floor.
Throw your floats on the
So
floor.
the clothes on the floor.
And then her dishes, she'll leave it in the sink for like a good week or so.
Oh dude, that's gross.
I mean, I've done it before, but like she does it pretty regularly to the point where I couldn't take it anymore. In the end, we decided the more mature way is to just let each other know, talk it out instead of tolerating, which is what we did for like a good 1-2 years.
I think that's the pro tip. You cannot just tolerate. You must
Correct.
compromise and let go
You must
of whatever
verbalize
anger.
what you-
Yeah, like I wanted to say that that's really important because I would say we moved in pretty early in the relationship. So it was a lot of bottling up at first and then exploding. We had a lot of talks where it was about not just learning how to live with each other, but learning how to express this like unhappiness with one another in a healthy way.
I also agree. I learned to be a better communicator and being more direct. I'm the one who's not direct.
People would think people would think that we are very close, but actually we are not. The way I live at home is like I'm there just to rest. And like I actually close my room door pretty often.
I feel like we've been very realistic so far, which is great, but like any other like positive things that came out of this?
It is really just learning the adulting process. The realism of it all can get very tiring, especially when it comes to like bills or like things that you think are really redundant, like having to service your aircon every 3 months, or like learning tips on cleaning stuff that I never knew needed to be clean. You're learning new skills.
Alright, okay.
And you're much more equipped for when you finally, like, let's say down the future, right? Like if you commit to owning a home, you know, you don't have to do all the trial stuff. You like can just get
You know what to look out for already,
Correct.
right?
Oh, another like positive, right? I feel it's also about like mental health. So when you have like a nice physical space, one where you feel safe, one where you can rest and
Correct.
you can recharge, and you don't have to basically think about the needs of an authority figure. It just opens up this whole amount of mental energy that you were previously using to resist or like, you know, better your life. And then now all the energy can just kind of go to you. A lot of it is a healing journey where you really try to like process and basically build yourself lah. I want to just say like it's not like you are in a trying situation, that's why you have to leave your home. But sometimes that's just something that is an important thing for you to do. For me, it was either spend a lot of money on like therapy or move up. I was very unhappy, not because like I don't like my family members, but because like I didn't have a peer that I could really do when I came home. Like last time I had my sister ma, it felt very like lonely lah, and the times I enjoyed spending was time out with my friends. So for me, it was just made sense to like go and move out with friends, because not only you get that peer support, you also get that security where you can control your living space.
A lot of young people these days, or like people within our age bracket, and I think all of us can relate, we kind of moved out for space reasons that was also tied to family relationships and mental health. I think what I would like to say is more on the parent side of things. I'm very fortunate to have like a supportive parent who never objected to this, but I think like what I sense from some friends who have taken steps to move out is that they have parents that object. I think it helps to like realize that your child is also grown up and they should be allowed to try and explore new things, to rent and to find like spaces in which their mental health can be a lot more stable.
I think the importance of mental health is very clear. I think a lot of people, the reason why they move out is because they really just need to stop this fighting. Like, you know, you say also you like fight with your sister and everything. It's like you just want to stop. I mean, from my perspective also, because I don't rent a place or anything, right? If your home environment is still a decent environment to live in, I think that's fine, and that's like really a blessing. But to a lot of people who may not have this blessing, in a sense, really do like use this as a consideration in a sense to take care of yourself. I guess moving forward from that, like the pros and cons of like owning your own home and stuff. Is there any unsaid things when it comes to renting a house that people are really not very sure of? Like it's like not available on the internet kind.
Maybe we want to talk about like how to choose house.
Oh yeah, we can talk about that. How do you guys choose a place actually? I totally didn't.
Oh, the best
Cover that.
lobangs are not from the typical rental websites, but Carousel and certain Facebook groups. You know, like most of the rental websites, they come from agents, right? And then there are like certain fees to consider. Whereas for places like Carousel, right, you either have the owner themselves or former tenants. All these things, you have the like lived experience of the person formerly occupying the space. I think that's much more reliable. Yeah, so I just think it's very important to like interact with your landlord to find out what kind of person they are and to know your rights as a tenant, which is something that people don't really consider. One instance was that, so my partner and I rented the master room in this large old flat. We went on a holiday, my partner and I, and then when we came back, right, the house was overpopulated, and at one point, right, we had 11 people in the same house.
How did it even fit?
Then there were like workers doing like short-term rentals, that kind, which is illegal also. Nothing was clean. The toilet, because imagine we both had our own toilet, but everyone else shared the common toilet.
Rups.
Yeah, rugs. And like it smelled like pee all the time. Things were dirty. There were like pests, and all because like this guy thought he could get away with just like packing people for profit into one space. And that also was a shortcoming because like there was not much interaction to figure out how involved is the landlord in the process, because I believe if your landlord is involved, this wouldn't fly. Yeah, and like just also safeguarding yourself in the process.
A few things that new home owners need to have is a Tefal non-stick pan. You can cook anything in it,
Endorse.
right?
Tefal, please sponsor.
I cook anything and everything
Correct,
with one
correct.
pan and then also a Magic Clean mop with dry and wet wipes. You don't need a vacuum cleaner, you don't need a mop, you just need that one device. Last but not least, I've never ironed my clothes in 4 years.
Oh, hey, same.
Oh
No,
my
uni,
god!
What
I
is
never-
ironing?
Right.
Yeah, ironing, yeah.
Ironing.
No, you just take your clothes out of the washing machine, then you just bam, bam.
And then you hang
You
like
must hang it
by
just
the end one.
Correct.
Life hacks.
I think for groceries, right, one way of saving money is to buy in bulk,
Yes.
which is very hard when you are living with like 2 people in one house. So as much as you can, just like buck up with your housemate and then go together instead of buying yourself.
You need to share the responsibility
Yeah.
of managing the home together. Complement each other's strengths,
Yeah.
find balance, don't so calculative. Like when you live with whoever, you also have to remember that yes, you have one relationship as a housemate, but you have another relationship with them as a person.
Individual.
When you live together, it's very easy to just like not nurture that relationship because you guys are already living together. Yeah.
So I think we'll wrap up the video here. But maybe any last words of advice for people who maybe currently during this COVID situation have been having a tough time at home and are considering renting out as an option to kind of, you know, feel better and, you know, have a new space. Any last words of advice?
I think maybe make sure your financials are in order. Renting is a lot more expensive than you think it is, but it is not impossible. Make sure you have at least 5 months worth of rent that you can give, because you have to pay the down payment. You have to buy new things for your home. Bed sheets and curtains are damn expensive, like from personal experience. Yeah.
Going in armed and realizing that having your own space is not glamorous at all, it can be very exhausting. Evaluate whether the long-term journey is worth it, and if it is for you, then I would like to encourage like people to take the step out to do this. I think it's healthy.
Yeah, I feel like there are also relationship tips too that we can take away from today. Like you have to verbalize as much as you can to maintain a really healthy and happy house. Have a good relationship with your housemates, roommates.
Oh my god, amazing!
Wrap up.
I feel like this video has taught me so many things. Okay, so thank you everybody for your words of advice today, and thank you everybody for watching as well. So just like to let you know that this video was made in collaboration with the YouTube Singapore team, and they actually wanted to share resources with you guys for mental health as well as well-being.
Yeah, you can refer to the description link down below for additional resources.
Yes, and if you like this video, leave a comment down below and tell us what you liked about it, and also to share with us what else you want us to talk about next time. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Bye!
Bye!